Welcome to the Everything is Permitted review special of Marvel's Eternals. I'm your captain and host, Julian Brown, alongside my co-host, the Man of Steel, Matt Reppert, and the Master of Puns, Brittany Tomes. How we doing?
Living the dream. We got bagels.
We got bagels. We got Eternals. We got Celestials.
Eternal bagels.
Ooh, Eternal bagels. Would you like
a never-ending bagel?
Carve their logo, like cool circular things that look like Doctor Who a little bit into the bagels? Yeah. Yeah, that would be neat.
Doctor Who things?
Yeah, so like his language.
The Time Lord language is like all based in circles. It's meant to look kind of like clock. And
I think Doctor Who is probably like one of my biggest like nerd blind spots. I've never seen a single thing for it.
I would have thought blind spot was your biggest nerd blind spot.
Oh.
Get it? That was a show.
That's a deep cut. Lady Sif.
It was fun until they solved all the tattoos. Then I was like, why is this show continuing?
Were they real tattoos?
No. They had to paint them on. Well, I mean, do you mean in the show? They were real tattoos on the character in the show. I was like, do you mean?
Hey,
no, they didn't
that
cover
would be some
Lady
crazy character acting.
We want you to try it for the show, but
Alexander
we're actually going to tattoo you for it. So, you do? You are? Yeah.
Didn't Shia LaBeouf get like a giant lion chest tattoo for a movie that didn't end up getting made?
But that's Shia LaBeouf.
That's a good point. Fair enough.
His name's the Beef in French.
For those that didn't know that.
Yeah.
Guys, as a warning, as always, when we do our review specials, this is a spoiler review. So, with characters like Icarus, I mean, you kind of, you know the legend already. But just in case, Yeah. Let's start, as always, with our Rotten Tomatoes score. And if you don't already know this is Marvel's first, or I should say it's Marvel's lowest rated Rotten Tomatoes score for an MCU film yet. So we can chew on that a little bit. Critics score 48%, and there is a big disparity. Audience score 81%. How do you guys feel about this score?
I think I'm more in line with the critics score, honestly.
I'm more in line with the audience score.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in line with the audience score, and I think it should actually still be higher. I don't understand the critics score. I actually thought this might be the opposite because of review bombing.
Because like Chloe Zhao, we love her cinematography. But no.
But apparently they didn't, because maybe they were saying they did, but everything else fell flat. I don't know. I love the movie. I think the critics score is mind-boggling. I usually agree with most of these, but we're going to get into it a little bit more with our thoughts, but I want to kind of get your opinions on why this score is the way it is, because I still think that this movie, whether you like it, love it, or you just think it's meh, is still better than Thor: The Dark World, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, movies that are actually very highly rated on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wait.
I was going to say, I like Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
I was about to say, I love Guardians of the
Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is like, okay. I'm not saying it's bad.
Fuck.
I like it.
This is the thing about the MCU. You have people with very differing opinions.
It's very
true. It depends on what actors they like, what movies they like, what plots they liked.
True.
I mean, yes, this movie is better than Thor: The Dark World, but that is a very low bar to clear.
Yeah.
it is.
I don't have any problems with Thor: The Dark World. Is it a great MCU film? No, but like, I think this is much better than it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I don't quite understand the scores, but hey, I'm not the Rotten Tomatoes score giving type. I usually don't go on there, but I do like using it as a meter for how we're going to go about this film. I like that we're a little bit divided on this one today. I could tell you before we start that Rob was kind of in Matt's camp, and Karen, the mother of dragons, also in Matt's camp. I think the two of us are the fans, which is totally cool. We're going to get into it. Brittany, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on Eternals.
Okay, so you guys have known I've ranted for a while about how I just want goddamn Celestials to be introduced in the MCU. That was my only expectation for this movie. I liked the visuals. I already like Chloe Zhao, so I was like, no matter what, this movie will be gorgeous. I'm here for it. So going in, even though I work in a comic book store and I read a lot of comics, I had only read like Neil Gaiman's Eternals run, which was like a really short thing, like 12 issues, 10 issues, something like that. And it's not like the Jack Kirby stuff, like that's so much more expansive. So I knew vaguely of these characters, didn't know much about how they're going to be in the MCU, what they're doing with the story, etc. And I think that not having expectations, like normally for Marvel films, I'm like, okay, they're probably pulling from these stories. I know this about this character. Like, I could just let my mind go blank and just watch, which was nice. Like I could pick up on some things where I'm like, okay, they're referring to this celestial, or like, this will probably happen, etc. But I really liked it, and I had fun. And even I think halfway through the film, I turned to you and I was like, I don't get the hate. I really like this film. I'm really having fun and enjoying it. But yeah, I thought the acting was great. I liked that there was actually like representation among the cast. Like, I think only 3 of the Eternals are white.
Yeah.
The rest, like, whether or not certain characters die or not is still, an issue. But at least I was like, well, they could have, like, if this was made 10, 20 years ago, they would have been like 8 of them white, 1 person not. Or
maybe
whatever,
all of
7.
them white.
Yeah, maybe all of them white. But somebody, like, has eyeliner to look, like, ethnic. Anyway. Yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I liked finally seeing the Celestials happening. It's what I think the MCU needed, and what has made me drag my feet a lot about the universe and like the recent films, other than like Shang-Chi. Like, I just haven't cared. So this makes me like, oh, cool. I care again.
Yeah. Matt.
So yeah, I am a little more about the movie. I found the first act pretty dull, honestly. And I think I even said in the chat, like, for me, the movie didn't really start picking up until when they got to the Amazon. Mm-hmm. The thing is, like, I dug the cast and all that. I love the visuals, but like this, just, I don't know, the story and such just didn't work for me. And I never felt hugely engrossed in the characters or anything, because there were so many questions I kind of had about the character and the story that I kind of, like, even during the movie I was like, wait, why, like, this and this, and the motivation of the Celestials and all that stuff like that. And the thing is that yes, it is a better movie than a couple other MCU movies out there, like Thor: The Dark World. But to me, that doesn't save it from kind of being a mediocre movie. And I know there's like a huge disparity between the critic and audience score, but part of me thinks it's because, the critic, like somebody who is a professional movie critic, tends to look for other things in movies than somebody in the audience who's like, I just want to go see a Marvel movie. Yay.
See, I got to disagree with you there, though, because I think that critics, especially for the MCU, take their critic hat off a little bit and know what they're going into, which is why I actually think most of the MCU films have gotten rated highly. Like, if critics went into those movies going, I'm going to rate this as just like, I have my critic glasses on, I'm Siskel and Ebert, like, this is just another movie that I'm going to review, they'd all have like 18%.
Yeah, they would all be like 40.
I think that these critics have to go in knowing that they're going into a superhero movie, and knowing that you have to look for the things that make a superhero movie good, not a normal movie. I forget which director said it, and I know that, like, what's his name? Martin Scorsese has shit on the MCU before. But one of these directors, I did kind of agree with something that they said, that these movies aren't so much movies as events. And I think that's also how critics have to look at them, because this is a massive connected universe. That's something that's never been done in film before. So I think you have to go in as a critic with a unique perspective.
Yeah, but the thing but the critics, I still feel they're not just like, yay, it's more MCU expanding the universe and such like that. And the fact that it seems like that there is this kind of the critical score is so much lower than the audience score tells me that they're kind of just, obviously critically looking at the movie and kind of going, it doesn't hold up as well. And considering that a lot of Marvel movies have gotten very good scores from critics, that tells me something about this movie as well.
Yeah, interesting. Anything else?
No, you're good to go.
So, a couple of nights before I went to see Eternals, Cecily had been dying to go see Shang-Chi for months. So I had just seen Shang-Chi, and that had, like, refreshed my memory of how, like, awesome that movie was, and how that was also a very, like, standalone film as well. Like, we're going to talk a lot about today how this is very, like, new for the MCU and something completely different than they've ever done. And I felt that way about Shang-Chi, because you could say that movie could stand alone without the Marvel title on it.
Yeah, you pulled out Marvel references from it.
Same thing with the Eternals. Like, this movie was such a breath of fresh air for me. I loved this entire cast. I really didn't know how I was going to feel going in about every one of them. Like, I really thought you know, and God bless her because I love her. I had a poster of her on my wall in college. Like I thought this
Angelina.
was, oh hell yeah. I thought this was just a paycheck for Angelina Jolie as Thena, but like I thought that she was fantastic.
See, I thought the opposite because she has avoided being in the MCU so
So
far.
long.
So when she finally did it, I was like, this has to be something special for
right.
her to want to do it.
That's fair.
And same with like a few of those actors.
Yeah.
Like some of them were new. Like the actor plays Makari. I don't think I've seen her in anything.
And she's great. I have seen her in things. I can't remember what they are now. I loved her. I honestly, my only complaint with the cast is I wish that we got more Salma Hayek because Ajax is just like a great character in the film.
I think they did that to be more shocking. That's why she's in the trailer.
And
so
I
much.
appreciate that. Like I thought that was an interesting choice.
Although they should not have put the scene where she rides up on the horse and talks
in
to
the
him
trailer,
in the trailer,
like at the
it's
start
so
of every
obvious
trailer,
that
right.
he kills her.
And I didn't pick up on it, but that's
I know. I heard you in your seat. You're like, oh damn!
Yeah.
Yeah, she said, "Oh damn" out loud when the betrayal happened, and I was like, "Oh honey."
I said to you, like, sometimes I do pick these things up, but I was so engrossed in this film. I was so into it. Like, Chloe Zhao did such a great job, like, just pulling me into this universe with the visuals. The costuming department did really cool to, like, make them, like, I don't know, like, just stand, like, I don't know. There was something really, really special about that. I thought, what's her name? Jem Chan as Cersei. Thank you. As Cersei was just a I'm gonna make a bad pun, and I don't mean to, but she was a gem. She's, I don't know, I really loved everything about this. It wasn't long, yeah, but like I was never bored. Like all the exposition, all the traveling back and through time. I loved getting to know each one of these characters, and I like that Marvel fans, you know, Brittany, you and I talked about this. I love that Marvel fans for this movie can go into this not having any previous knowledge of the Eternals. I think like all of us really, like you said, you've read one run.
Yeah.
And you know, by the end of the film, feel like you know all of them, which you can't say for some movies. Like I really liked that.
See, but once again, like I know we're gonna get into this, but I had so many questions during the movie that I felt like weren't answered, and I felt like and once again, like I agree with the visuals and the acting and everything, and like I loved Kumail Nanjiani's, you know, character and all that, and the fact that he basically was like, I'm not going to be in the final battle. I just don't feel like I'm not doing that because I disagree. Like, great, cool. One of your best characters is not going to be in the last part of the movie. But
I thought
wonderful.
that was a really powerful moment that like they weren't all on the same page, but at the end, like even if they don't agree, like they come together, and I thought that was a really great moment.
But did they even show him though being like a part of the connection at the end?
The people that were on the ship and stuff, they had all the lines connect. Even if they weren't in the shot, they had all their connections happen. Like he still wore the bracelet. I think the reason a lot of things aren't answered, quote unquote, is because Marvel's using this as part of their like phase 4 stuff. So it's the same way that it's like, okay, now you've seen the judge and everything, and you know a judgment is coming, but they're not going to answer everything about why the Celestials do what they do. They're gods. And the thing is, it's the same as like Ego. He would go around just like planting seeds, fucking with worlds. Like that's just what Celestials do. They build their people, they have their fun projects, and then they wipe them out.
Well, Ego, I kind of understood his motivation more. He was trying to make another being kind of similar to him, so that's why he was going to planets constantly and sleeping with everything on the planet, trying in the hope that 1 in a trillion chance that being like Star-Lord would be born like him. But like Celestials, like for example, all right, so the Deviants were created and such like that, and then but they could evolve and everything, so they were like too perfect. So he created the Eternals, but they've been blowing up world after world. So how do the Deviants keep getting on these worlds? And why would they keep why would they keep letting them being on these worlds?
No, they always put the Deviants first because they have to wipe out any natural creatures that are there that aren't sentient. So then once the Deviants have wiped out like the main predators of that area, and they still keep like some life like animals, then the Eternals are sent in to wipe out the Deviants because the Deviants are too powerful and they can't be the apex predator because they attack sentient life. That's the whole thing.
Did they? I thought the Deviants only attack like they attack sentient life, which is the only thing that allows the seed on the planet that grows that has.
That's why they have to send Eternals to kill the Deviants, because if they're going to kill all the sentient life, they can't birth another Celestial.
And I do think that Arishem in the film says very clearly, like, I knew that the Deviants had like grown
Yeah,
too,
they got
so
out
they
of
had gone
his
through some,
control.
but I just kept using them anyway because this is what we have to do to keep birthing Celestials. So he knew that they had gotten out of his control, but he
And
just
that's why
continued
he
to
made the
keep doing it
Eternals.
anyway.
He set it so that they don't evolve, they don't keep their memories, they don't remember, they don't grow over time, and that's why the fluke of Athena is that her memories were not perfectly erased, and she does remember, and that sets up like the seeds of doubt.
Yeah.
And then the only one that's allowed to know is the leader of the Eternals, because like as long as they have blind faith in Arasham, they're not going to ruin the plan. But eventually, Selma Hayek's character was like, you know what? No, I like Earthlings too much. These people are too special.
Well, also, I felt like the team should have realized it's something that, like, oh wait, maybe we are this whole like we can't interfere unless deviants are involved. When Druid literally walks off with the entire population and the attackers.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, Druid could have just mind controlled all of them, so it's not like.
But I'm saying like he walked off with them, and they're just kind of, and like it wasn't mentioned by anybody. Like, oh yeah, okay, so
Well,
obviously they can
their
interfere
mission
with
was done,
humans and
though.
stuff like that. But like once again, though, is that they like I was like, why? Like they totally accept the fact that he does it. They're just like, oh okay, yeah, whatever, Druid.
Yeah, because their mission's already done. They
The
killed the
mission's
last
already
of the
done, and
deviants.
there's not much they
So
can do
then
to
they're
stop
like,
him.
we can't. They don't want to kill him, so they're like, we'll just let him go do
And
his own
arguably,
thing.
he's like the most powerful one. Like if he could just control everybody's mind, like
I
that's
liked Gilgamesh.
I loved Gilgamesh.
I liked the part where Sprite was like telling the story, and she created the Epic of Gilgamesh about him.
That's one of
And
the
I
few
was
moments
like,
Karen went like,
"Thank you."
"Oh wow,
Yeah.
that was really neat."
Well, I like how all of them have inspired all the stories that
Yeah.
people know afterwards. Like she was just like, Athena, no A. And
Yeah.
you're just like, yes.
Yes.
I am happy though this movie is pissing off Middle Eastern
Saudi Arabia.
countries and stuff
Yep,
like
we're going to
that.
talk about
Yep.
that. Yep. The last thing I want to say for my thoughts is that if you're going to introduce the Celestials, like what a way to do it, because I didn't really know the Eternals going into this movie at all, but I do know the Celestials very well, and I've been like Brittany waiting for this moment. And seeing Arishem and then seeing some of the other Celestials, we've gotten hints of them in Guardians of the Galaxy. It was just so neat. We're going to talk more about that in a few minutes, but one of the things that Eternals does well, at least in my opinion, is make sure that by the end of the film, like we care about each one of these Eternals, whether they've made mistakes, gone against their fellow Eternal or not. What do we think about the flashbacks and getting to know each one of these characters, and then like as well as like these issues that haunt some of them in the present?
So one thing I did like that the Eternals does is that we've seen so many times in superhero movies that it's the team up movie where like you're waiting forever for everybody to meet up and you're like blah blah blah, yeah, and then you get each of their specific origins or backstories, and then they only finally meet up in like the final battle in the end of the film. And while this does that in a way, they also put those flashbacks in so you can see and you already understand that this is a team. You understand where they all came from, how they split up. So it's more believable when they find themselves and they come back together. So you're not wasting your time the whole film being like, oh, well, why don't I get to see them fight together? Why don't I get to see this camaraderie? Like, Avengers is fun, but I don't like to rewatch that movie because it takes so goddamn long for everybody to team up and then fight at the end. So I'm like, okay, cool. It was a blast when it came out in 2012, but now I'm like, it's like shoved to the bottom of the list sort of thing. So I think the flashbacks helped with that, and it also helped cover the scale of the amount of time they've been there pretty quickly. Like they could have put it like in chronological order, but I think that would have made the film feel really long.
No, I know what you mean.
So instead, hopping back and then showing, okay, well, this is how like, things were going wrong with Athena, and then they were also struggling with the fact that they all cared about humanity and they felt bad about what was happening, but then only this specific character speaks out on it. And I don't know. I thought it was really well done how they did that.
Yeah, the flashbacks were fine. I also do very much enjoy the fact that each of the characters kind of influence the Earth legends about them, and of course, even at the end when it's like, "Oh, you're Athena," like, no, it's Athena.
Drop the A. I love how she delivered that line.
Drop the A. It's just Athena and all that. So the flashbacks did the job that they were supposed to do to convey, their bond over the millennia. So and I was fine with that.
Yeah. I really appreciated that this movie starts with them coming to Earth, and you do get to see them right away as a team. You get to see their bonds. You get to see what they're arguing with each other about, what they disagree over. Because I think, Matt, you kind of hit on the head a little bit. Like, you could ask the question and do a whole debate about this film. Like, why didn't they interfere with these large events, even though they were told not to? Why didn't they get in that fight against Thanos? Because at that point, you just have to say, fuck it, and fight the mad fucking Titan. Like, you just do it. But I like the fact that they showed that there was dissent among the ranks, and they all didn't agree whether to interfere or not, and they all decided to go live among the people in different ways. Like Ajax really just goes in the middle of nowhere, South Dakota. Athena and Gilgamesh go, I think, in the outback of Australia. Some of them decide to mingle, and some of them decide to close off from the world because of, like Fastos losing faith in humanity after Hiroshima. Like, I loved getting to know each one of these characters. Like, I'm probably in the minority here. Like, I could have watched another hour of this film, another hour of them, you know, fighting the Deviants throughout all these big important moments in time because I was just so pulled into it. I thought they did a great job with that.
I also, one thing I will say about the Deviants is I know I said this before, but they were very much the CGI monsters that I was like, That
No,
found
I'll
entirely
agree with
boring.
that.
Even the big bad Deviant who,
I liked them.
I mean,
I thought their design was cool. Like, it's better than half of
The design was cool,
random
but were they
CG
an
that's in
interesting
them, too.
villain? Like,
I just
I've-
didn't consider
I've-
them villains.
well, right,
like,
fair.
I went into this film thinking, like, yeah, they fight deviants, but, like, ultimately, the sort of villain is going to end up being something bigger.
Right.
Like a celestial
the real
influence.
Deviant is the one controlling all of us.
And,
Yeah.
and the really interesting thing about this film too is like at the end of the movie, you have to ask yourself a couple of questions. Like, was Icarus evil? I not necessarily did he kill Ajax? Yeah,
He's
but,
like all the people that have blind faith in something.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have blind faith.
like listen, Bucky's done far worse and he's been redeemed. Like
Well-
Icarus could have been redeemed.
Well, Icarus, to be fair, I mean, in his mind's eye, you're talking about, yes, the people on Earth die, but the creation of potentially billions
of people. So his
of
argument
lives.
isn't valid. It's like the Killmonger
it
thing.
was all very
Yeah.
moral, and I like
The
that.
needs of the many outweigh
Yeah.
the needs of the few.
Yeah, it really just comes down to the Celestials. They're the ones in power and control. So, like, but I like that they point out, and they're just like, he says, like, we're no better than these soldiers just taking orders from somebody else in control. You can do horrible, terrible things thinking you're doing something good.
But even the Celestials aren't evil. They're not bad guys. What are the way they go about creation wrong? Yes, but they've never been. I mean, they have sometimes, but they've more just been portrayed as a neutral body. And even at the end of this film, when Arishim comes and takes him, is like, I'm gonna, like, you made this decision. I'm not killing you. Like, I'm not gonna, erase your memories.
He could have just been like, I'm
Yeah.
throwing another seed on Earth,
right.
and I'll
I'm
be
gonna
back.
I'm gonna let them live. You've made this decision. I'm gonna trust your decision, but I am going to come back and judge them.
Yeah.
I thought that was
And I like that he's
really
using their
great-
memories,
yes.
too. He's like, I will see.
I thought that was an awesome.
I'm glad they put that scene in, because if they wouldn't have, I would have been like,
Yeah.
yeah, because like there needed to be something that
You
happened.
saw the
I was like, you
scope.
literally just
Yeah.
defied a celestial. And then I love when you see his head in comparison to the world. And I was just like, finally, Jesus Christ, thank you. This is like, holy shit.
At this point in the MCU, like all 6 billion people of Earth have to be in some form of therapy. Like,
Oh, for sure.
Thanos, Celestials showing up, like big giant frozen Celestial in the sea.
I know it's a bunch of movies and TV shows and such, and you have to, but I feel like that there would be this massive like mind fuck of the planet if there was the sudden reveal, like, yeah, these beings that are infinitely powerful exist, and trust me, they don't agree with any of your religious
And
crap
they
that you
don't
believe.
give a shit
I think
about
humans
you.
just already feel like ants at this
Yeah.
point. They're like,
Yeah.
honestly, who knows?
Brittany, you've talked a lot about this, the MCU just like dancing around the much larger scope of the universe that comes from the comics. But they've been dancing around that since we saw, Thanos at the end of the first Avengers film. We see Celestials in Guardians of the Galaxy. Nowhere is a giant head of a dead Celestial. How did Marvel do finally giving us them, like, in this big kind of, I don't know, like, just big is almost like not even a good word because they're bigger than big, like just like upping the stakes of the MCU.
I'll keep it simple. You really I finally felt the scale of what the universe needs. Because the thing is, you have all these really powerful superheroes. And every time they introduce someone else, you're like, oh, well, they're even more powerful. And they're even more powerful. And people are like, oh my God, Thanos, he's the most powerful of all. He needed gems, first of all. I hate Thanos. But second of all, I was just like, you don't even understand how much of a fucking ant he is to some of these other people in the universe. So it was just waiting for them to finally take that gamble. And yeah, you need technology at a certain point and everything. And you need us to care enough about these smaller players in the game to then introduce this bigger stuff. But then I'm like, cool, now Galactus can exist. Now Silver Surfer can finally exist. Now you can finally bring in the Fantastic Four. Shit can make sense.
Yeah.
The only thing with the Celestials is I'm curious about is what is so and regarding the whole Marvel universe as a whole at this point is what are they trying to build towards, or what are they attempting to do eventually? Because, you know, if you're looking to do the big bad, because I know that Loki is kind of like basically Kang the Conqueror is essentially been dropped in there, but when you have these Celestials and these beings who are like essentially infinite powerful, because now the question is like, so if they ever try and do like let's say Kang the Conqueror as like the big bad for the movies going forward at some point, the question is always going to linger like, oh, well, who is this dude when you have these things that literally can just like...
That's valid, and you know
and
what?
just flick an entire galaxy.
Luckily, we don't have to make those decisions.
Yeah, right. And I mean,
Marvel have
listen,
to figure
the
it out.
Celestials are the ones who kind of like keep balance of the universe, right? Like they're going to know at some point that, you know, Eternals just kind of fucked with the balance. Kang's fucking with the balance. Like they can snap a finger and fuck with shit too. Like it's going to come into play. We'll
see how they do it. But that's the thing. They keep everything so vague, and they give you like a little hint, and then you're just like, you could go any possible array of directions with this. It's like, just help us narrow it down so that we can like expect what you're going to do.
There needs to be some kind of more focus, because once for years it was known that they're going to do Thanos because that was the character. Now it's just like, are they doing Kang? Are they going to do Celestials?
Are they doing it all at once?
Are they doing it all at once? And it's going to be a huge mess. Like what is happening?
I mean, so far they haven't made it a huge mess. Like, I mean, this is like the one flop in how many films and television? Well, if for some people flop, you know, like they haven't taken a step wrong, really. Like they haven't, you know, maybe
they got that Disney money.
But right now they're I feel like it's all these, it's almost like a tree or something, and just all the branches growing differently. And how are you going to try
literally with Kang?
Yeah. And then they're just like, does this make more money? We'll start funding this one more.
Well, we're going to get more of this in a month with Spider-Man. That's going to...
Piety boy.
I am looking forward to that.
That's going to be great.
I am really looking forward to Spider-Man.
Doctor Strange is going to mess with that as well. Like, I think this is going to start developing in these next two films. So we'll see.
I hope so.
The Eternals are a group, we've said this a few times now, that not a lot of people are familiar with. You know, maybe, you know, and I think this is like the first film or MCU film that you really don't need to know anything about these characters or the universe, you know, before watching. This movie, just like Shang-Chi, like kind of just stands on its own. Do you think that helped the film, or do you think that's maybe detrimental, and why the score for it is a little lower or a lot lower than others?
So funny enough that you can argue that this movie is kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy, like at least for me, because like I knew pretty much nothing about Guardians of the Galaxy prior to it coming out, and I ended up loving that movie because of it. So I don't say that, I wouldn't say that it's helped or hurt, because honestly, it's just one of those things where you go into, because this movie, I know for people like Brittany who have always been looking forward to seeing all of the big god, like
the cosmic part of the
the cosmic part of the Marvel universe. Like for people like Brittany who have a little more experience with that, this was something that they were looking forward to. For people like me, who I had like no fucking clue who any of these characters were, and I even had to look up the post-credit scene because I was kind of like, what the fuck is all this? Like, what is going on?
I loved hearing everybody in the theater be like, what? I don't understand. Who is that? And I was just like, you don't know shit.
Well, I was glad because I'd been wondering something, and we're going to talk about the post-credit scene, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Brittany, your thoughts on this?
One thing I will say real quick is that Marvel tends to give away when things are going to happen in movies, because they'll start making a comic prevalent, and the Black Knight got a comic in the last few months. So that's very annoying. But you already knew kind of when he was casted that he was going to be that character, but you're just like, ooh, he's going to be important. So I feel like this movie stands alone in a sense, because I went into it once again not knowing too much about these characters, but I sat through it and I was like, cool, this is just a different take on an origin story. I bought everything.
Yeah.
It's this all checks out, makes sense. I found the characters believable in that way. I cared about them. I genuinely was I understand that this person's views on humanity, this person's views, I understand why they're fighting. Even if I didn't agree with Icarus or whatever, Ajax, any of that, until she was like, ooh, peace out. I changed my mind. But yeah, oh man.
Yeah.
I think it stands on its own.
I thought the thing was funny though when the one kid says to Icarus, like, you're kind of like Superman. I was like, oh shit, cross.
They were like two Batman references. Yeah.
Oh, one of my favorite things about this movie, it doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about now, but it was they didn't have to put in the ridiculous amount of Marvel, the jokes that Marvel movies have every 2 seconds, and also undercut emotional scenes. Like, this was a much more, like, I guess it was a movie that they let depth happen, and they didn't just, like, you know, when Thena's going through her stuff, they don't, like, cut in with a joke. It's like, no, this is serious, this is emotional, like.
Yeah, and when there was comedy, it was great. Yeah. Like, I was there for Bollywood.
They have 7 million years worth of pop culture references in their head.
His valet as well.
He was
a character so good. But then even that was heartfelt. You were like.
But one of the other things that I absolutely loved about this movie that I think goers are going to appreciate, maybe they're not. Gozer.
Worship.
I loved that there were none of the tropey bullshit of, like, characters getting mad for these, like, godlike characters for lying to them about their identities. Like, I just was like, I was so happy when Kit Harington's character, I'm just going to call him Black Knight because that's who he is, was just like, oh, yeah, okay, like, do your shit, like, whatever. Like, I appreciate that, you know, like, this is much bigger than me. Like, I'm not going to get mad at you for not telling me that you're, like,
even when her ex-boyfriend shows up, he's just like, how long were you together? 5,000 years? He's like, I'm a peace out for like a month, let you do your thing, and if you're ready to continue this afterwards, like, we'll come back.
There probably could have been a moment where when she told him, like, who she is and what they are and stuff, where he could have been like, he could have been like, okay, and she could have been like, oh, well, doesn't that, like, for you guys, like, half the world got snapped out of existence.
And that's the other thing. Like, that's how people
like, weird
would
shit has happened in my
lifetime.
He was
the one that was like, just tell me you're a wizard already. Like, I know you are.
Yeah.
He's like,
oh, my boyfriend's an Avenger? Oh, okay.
He's like, just tell me. Yeah. And then when it happens, he's just like, I knew it. But like, I love when he tries to fucking climb the fence thing and he goes, no, going around. I was like, thank you. You're a human.
No, I really appreciated that. Speaking of things to appreciate, we finally get true representation in an MCU film with Fastos, who, by the way, was just fucking amazing. I love him.
The Fastos and the Furious.
The Fastos and the Furious. Oh, before I get into this, can I give my Fastos theory? Because I didn't put a thing for Fastos or for theories in here. I have a very big theory that Fastos is the creator of the 10 rings. I think that he created those because we know that they're thousands of years old. We knew that he wanted to create bigger and better things and faster. I think that he created them, and Ajax was like, we cannot give these to the people. You need to put these away. You need to put these away in a box. Like, they cannot be given to the people.
And he's like, in a box in Asia.
Yeah, right.
He's like, will they find this in China?
I may or may not have put them there, but I think I'm going to be right.
They're celestial in make, so I feel like that's the easy thing. Marvel can be like, yes, you are right.
Yeah, no, I think
we'll see.
I want to be right about something real quick, but
an even bigger celestial made them.
Speaking of Fastos, like, we finally get representation in this film. He's openly gay, and he has this beautiful family. Disney did not shy away from it in this film. It led to a ban in Saudi Arabia and a bunch of Middle Eastern countries. Like, it's just awesome that it's finally happening. Now, should it have happened a long time ago? Abso-fucking-lutely. But are we happy to see that now?
Yes. Disney finally got tired of every LGBT person being like, cool, another first gay character. Interesting that you could easily edit the scene out for an international audience.
I actually, while I was watching, because I saw the movie by myself, so while I was watching it with the scenes, part of me was like, all right, if I were trying to edit this out, like, how could I?
But they made it not editable.
It would have been it would have, like, kind of cut out a part of the movie where you would have been like, wait, what the fuck is going on with this character?
And I swear it's all Chloe Zhao.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, she was probably like, it's about time, Disney. And they're like, we could probably hold up another fight. And she's like, it's about time.
Yeah.
So she puts it in. And it's a black man, so that's important as well, because
wasn't his husband maybe like Middle Eastern descent?
Yeah, I don't know what language he spoke, but I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Intrigue. But yeah, I liked that they put it in, and they did it in a way that every, like, shot that involved them going to his family's house and, like, getting him, either he was talking about his family or in, like, directly in a scene with his family. So even when, like, Cersei and Icarus first walk up, the way it's shot is that you can't have them actually talking to him without him. He's working on the bike, his son's right there, his husband's right there. Like, everything was so layered that if you, like you said, cut out every single instance of him being gay from that, it would have been them walking up to the house, not seeing him, and then them walking away and patting his back at the end. It would have made no fucking sense.
And can I just say also that was another great moment of, like, no one giving a shit anymore about who their family is. Mm-hmm. Like, Icarus breaks the table and husband's just in the background like, yeah, okay.
He's like, you really need to go.
So they don't break my house anymore.
They live in a magic house that like has like a shield on it.
I thought that moment was great. He's like, oh, you don't use your powers anymore?
And he's like, okay, but I need to protect my family.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was well done. I liked it. And I like that it wasn't so, like, like it wasn't even token gay. Like it was just like legitimately like, okay, like this is a realistic family, a realistic setting, and it's like his one hope in humanity. He's like, I've seen the fucked up shit they do. I finally found somebody that like I love, a family I care about, and now I see the beauty in humanity. So you're just like, that's exactly what a gay would say. Thank you.
I loved his moment, and I think I said this earlier in Hiroshima. Like I was feeling it, like when he was just like, I'm done. Like this is horrible.
He's like, I shouldn't have given him the plow.
Yeah. Matt, your thoughts on the representation in the film?
No, I'm also happy, and I actually, and it kind of kills me she wasn't in the movie more. The Makari, I think.
Yeah, Makari. Yeah, we're gonna
like,
talk about
like I really wanted her character to be in the movie more, and also I will. One thing I definitely will give this movie credit for, her fight scene. Like I actually kind of felt the power of it, because when she's like, and because. You know, because she's basically the Flash. That's what
we got. We got Flash for Superman.
She was the best like speedster character I think they've done on film yet. It's awesome when they do slow motion scenes. Don't get me wrong, but the fact that they didn't for her and they let her just fucking yeet around the world like whoop, whoop, whoop. You were like, oh my god.
When they said to her like, you need to find out like where where
the point of emergence is.
Yeah, where Tiamat is like going to come out of the earth, and she's okay, and she just starts going across the world like looking for it.
But that moment where she's fighting Icarus, you're like, oh, she could beat him. Like, and you've always like you've always that the question always gets asked: is Flash more powerful than Superman? Is Superman more powerful than Flash? We got that battle in this movie, and it was fucking badass. Yeah. So, Speaking of Makari, Matt, she's played by deaf actor Lauren Ridloff, and obviously she's deaf in the film, so a deaf character being played by a deaf actor, more representation. Sign language is used throughout the entire film. Go ahead.
She even taught people how to do Eternals, which is just this.
Nice. Is Disney finally, maybe, turning a corner with representation? Is this just going to now open the floodgates?
This could be, I'll say not right now. They have to follow up and actually can build off of it. Because having one movie where it's like, okay, this is nice. They represent people. Yeah, I mean, so because of course they did the whole little James Bond thing at the end, where it's like the Eternals will like return,
which I wasn't sure we were going to get because they did interviews, and I think Chloe Zhao has said that like this movie doesn't need a sequel. And now they set it up with post-credit scenes to have a sequel, but if it had ended like that and we never saw these characters all together again, maybe some of them show up, it would have been okay. But I think you have.
I'm here for more Makari.
Yeah, but.
I mean, we all are. She's awesome. I loved all the characters though.
But was she just chilling in the ship for like the last few?
She was like, it's time to go, right? And they're like, okay, but you could have like experienced all of this shit in the last. And she's just like, well, thank God my boardom's over.
Yeah, right.
We can do shit.
Brittany, do you think that Disney is going to finally turn a corner? I know.
No, I think this is a good starting point for more like representation in the MCU, because at least other directors that are brought on to do more projects will see, well, Chloe Zhao already did this. Well, this already happened, so we can do more.
Right.
Same with other directors that came before them in other films, like Black Panther and Shang-Chi. Like, you get more representation from them, and as you can see, it's rippling out.
Yeah.
Also helps that there's been actors like Brie Larson who have come on, and then she's just been like, cool, but now that I'm part Marvel, what the fuck? Can you please get more representation and can do this? So, advocates, thank you. Yeah. But I don't think for Disney as a whole, this is at all a turning point, but it's at least nice to see that in the MCU, there won't really be excuses for like, when people don't do it, it's like, well, this film did it. Why couldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, something does have to be said or can be said that they, and like you said, maybe because Chloe Zhao really pushed for it, but they are going to lose some box office from, the Middle East and Saudi Arabia. And that those Marvel movies bring in
snooze, you lose,
bank
homophobes.
there. Yeah, but seriously, like, I mean, good on them for at least like holding their ground. And I love Angelina Jolie's comments on it being like, it's sad, but it's also maybe like a wake up call to stop being fucking stupid. Like, it's sad that they can't experience our movie, but like, this is great. Like, it shouldn't be shown there if they're just going to completely be like,
because how many other films have we cut down in order to appease people in other countries? It's like, no, you can experience the whole film. Yeah. In 4K. 4K.
Oh.
It's Brittany, bitch.
High def.
Oh, God.
Delayed womp womp womp.
That was for my deaf fam out there.
Yep. Guys, let's briefly talk about the post-credit stingers. Harry Styles from One Direction shows up as Eros, who is also known as Star Fox, with his little dwarf buddy Pip. Let's talk about him first, the brother of Thanos.
Yeah, I had no idea who the hell this dude was. And it's funny, so I don't know about your guys' experience, but when I saw, because I didn't get to see it in IMAX, so I saw it in Dolby Digital, I think. And I could almost feel the utter confusion in my theater where everybody, well, like people who aren't like big into the comics were like, who the fuck, what is going on?
That's how all of the post-credit things felt like, because people were expecting like, oh, who's gonna show up? Is it Thor? Is it whatever? And then when it's like completely new people, they're like, I don't have thoughts right now. I don't know how to make opinions. Yeah, this is one of my favorite things in the MCU is when they bring in these completely batshit ridiculous characters that were like a thing in 70s comics. Right. And they're just like, you know what? People asked about it when Thanos was a thing. They're like, ooh, is like Ares gonna come to whatever, like all during the Infinity stuff, because those characters are in the Infinity Saga or Infinity War, Infinity Gauntlet in the comics and stuff. But like to see the character appear here, and right away I was just like, Harry Styles, okay. Well, I'm like, he'll probably do a good job though. Like, I'm not surprised, but like it was just like, as soon as he showed up, I was like, oh, it's fucking Star Fox.
I thought, you know who I thought it was when I went to it? I was like, oh shit, because I thought because they'd done the casting announcement, they would have had a like quick time to like film that scene was Adam Warlock. And I was like, oh, it's fucking Adam Warlock.
That makes sense, because you slapped me and you're like, oh my gosh. And I was like, why the fuck is he so excited for Star Fox?
No, I wasn't excited for Star Fox at all. But then after I did see that it was Eris and Star Fox, I was like, oh wait, so he is the brother of Thanos. Yeah. How are we tying this in then to Thena being the cousin of Thanos?
Makes me wonder if in the next movie or in the next time they talk about the Eternals, if they're going to talk about how she was
because that's important.
She just doesn't have that deviant dream like Thanos did.
So
perpy skin.
Because at first when the Pip character, like at that point, like if fucking Gandalf had been like, I've returned from death, I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll accept it at this point.
Oh, dude, so funny. God, and then the big one is Dane opening the case. He finds the ebony blade, is becoming Black Knight, and then a certain someone says, you sure you want to do that? Mahershala Ali, Blade.
Yay.
Goosebumps on that one.
So is Blade like able to communicate telepathically now?
Oh no, he was in the room. They just decided not to show him. They probably couldn't get him in the.
Or it's more saying to be like, who's that voice? And they look it up, and then people are like, ah!
Blade's like on the other side.
If they
would
have actually panned the camera to him, I probably would have screamed in the theater.
Well, yeah,
fucking love Blade.
They probably don't even. Well, are they filming his movie right now?
No, they're not. They're not. Because
they probably don't even
pre-production.
Yeah, they probably don't even have his appearance.
They called him and had him record that in a closet. They were just like, just say this
legitimately.
Line. Like, here you go.
I can't wait for a Blade.
Yeah,
though.
I love these little cursed characters all gonna like be together in a little dark, spooky cinematic universe.
Dark Avengers, dark.
Speaking of which, Sony cinematic universe with Morbius.
Oh fuck, dude.
I hope for their sake it's a good movie.
Good, but I don't.
But I don't like Jared Leto at all.
I am not excited for that movie at all. No. Honestly, I've seen the trailer.
I was disappointed that every single trailer in front of Eternals were the same trailers that I got in front of Shang-Chi the other night. I was like, oh. Okay.
You were just at the movies the other day.
I know, but you get new trailers with
movies,
I was waiting for like a newer Spider-Man trailer. Like, this would have been the time to do it. I was
surprised that it was more so Sony in conjunction with Marvel trailers as opposed to there were no Marvel trailers, and you're like, ooh.
Guys, time to get to our rating out of 5 Celestials. Matt, I'll start with you.
I'll go 3. I mean, I still consider the movie above average.
That's fine.
Like maybe average, slightly above average. You know, it's something I might have to watch again at some point, just to kind of
probably like, take Cecily next week.
Sometime. Just to kind of like just to kind of watch it again, just to say, all right, let me go back into this movie. You know, not like in the middle of the night. I saw it at like 9:45 at night by myself with like
and you're like, who the fuck? Why the fuck? Where the fuck?
It's fun fact. I tried to pick a seat where I'd be by myself and nobody on either side, and of course, some random woman also by herself is to my left, and then this couple's to my right, and I was just like, God damn it!
I have to give a quick shout out. Sorry, before you continue your rating. Speaking of people in the theater, shout out to the mom in our screening. With like a newborn baby for keeping that baby quiet the entire almost 3-hour length of that movie. Props. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, I mean the movie felt a little long at times, and yeah, I did have a lot of questions during it. But as I said, I'm willing to say, all right, let me watch it again at some point just to kind of go back in and see if my opinion of it grows or if I still kind of feel the same way about it.
And if it doesn't, that's okay, because you basically gave it a 60% and D's get degrees.
Jesus Christ. Brittany.
You go next. I want to hear.
I'm gonna.
Nobody could see what Brittany really like.
No, I love this movie. I loved it. I'm not gonna give it a perfect score because it was a little long. There probably could have been some pacing things fixed around there. 4.5 out of 5. I really liked it.
Same.
Nice.
I just didn't want to go first because I was worried you were going to be like 5 out of 5, and I'd be like,
no, I'm not going to give it a perfect
okay.
score. No.
Yeah, 4.5 out of 5 just because, like, once again, I save like my perfect scores for when it's shit like Dr. Sleep, where like I just want to rant about it all day, and I like,
mind blown.
I'm just like, you don't even know. But yeah, this one I was just like, yes, like this is just, I think what I needed to feel reinvigorated to continue watching MCU films, because I was kind of getting, I guess, Marvel
Fatigue.
burnout, and
yeah,
it's also harder because I'm surrounded by it all day at work, and then customers come in and then they give me their fucking batshit theories all the time, and I just get so tired. I'm like, shut up. But it's nice to like see it and also go into it not knowing things for once.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is fun. I'm like just
refreshing.
a fan. I'm an audience member.
Yeah.
You know, you guys know that I think Ghostbusters is this month, right?
We're
Ghostbusters.
gonna have to do
When
that.
another
Heather said she wants to see it with
We
us.
got so
She's like,
many
I'm excited
movies
for
we
it.
gotta see.
Well, speaking of movies, this is going to do it for our Eternals review, but don't wait too long. You won't have to wait too long, I should say, because dropping next Tuesday is our review special of Dune. So we'll have that. And then I guess we'll come back with Ghostbusters the following week after
just
that.
Dune it.
We're just going to keep seeing movies and reviewing them until there's no more movies
That's
out.
fine.
Because
You know,
that's the fun way to
We
catch up on
suffered
this
for like
podcast.
almost 2
I know.
years of nothing coming out,
Nothingness,
and then we were
yeah.
just like, what do we talk about?
Yep. So
Potatoes?
for Brittany, for Matt, I'm Julian. Have a good night.
You can find Everything is Permitted on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Everything is Permitted is produced by Rob Migliaccio, Nikki Veazey, and Geneva Stein-Shivers. Our executive producers are Michael Cox, Brittany Tomes and the Tomes family, and Julian Brown.